ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
California is now recommending everyone return to indoor masking regardless of vaccination status as that Delta variant continues to spread. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Kimberly Hunt. And the move comes one day after similar guidance was announced by the CDC. We begin tonight with ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano at the County Administration Building.
The county is aligning with both the CDC and the state guidelines that say that you should wear a mask indoors regardless of your vaccination status. We looked at how this could affect the restaurant industry. The past 17 months have been a roller coaster for Civico 1845 owner Dario Gallo.
I think that people are tired about all of this.
He's short-staffed and still recovering from the effects of the pandemic, but the loosening of restrictions a few months back started helping him get back on track.
Now that we're allowed to seat people indoor, it's a big help because, of course, is more capacity for restaurants.
But this week, the CDC, state, and county retracted its masking recommendations, saying they are now urging everyone, regardless of vaccination status, to wear masks indoors. Experts say the Delta variant is far too contagious to take the risk.
I feel sorry for business owners that are going to have to try to enforce this and some of the conflict that they might see. I would just beg people to just go along with it, just wear the mask, get the vaccine, protect yourself, and we'll hopefully move past this.
At this point, no one is enforcing anything. Masks are only recommended and not required in restaurant settings. But Gallo says he isn't too fond of it possibly becoming a mandate again. Months ago, when masks were required for customers, Gallo remembers a few instances where patrons would verbally attack hostesses. It may also result in a drop in sales again.
A part of the people, they're not going to go out to restaurant anymore and they will maybe do takeouts and delivery. So it's going to impact us, yes, I believe.
Gallo says he is closely monitoring Cal OSHA to see if his staff have to wear masks again. Now, if it comes to his customers, he's waiting to see if this recommendation becomes a mandate. In downtown, I'm Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
Rena, thank you. San Diego County reported 765 new COVID cases today, pushing our pandemic total to pass 294,000. In less than a month, our rolling percentage for positive cases has jumped from 1% to nearly 7.5%.
We are getting new insight into that brain fog felt by so many COVID long haulers. A new study finds people who recover from COVID can't have the kind of cognitive declines you'd find in someone who had a stroke. Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth on the question, can COVID affect your intelligence?
The study looked at tens of thousands of people who took the Great British Intelligence Test. It's designed to measure problem solving, reasoning, and memory. Indicate the smallest number of moves needed. 4, 5, 6. Yes! And they found that even people who recovered from a mild case of COVID scored below average for their age and education level. And those who recovered from a really serious case had the equivalent of a 7-point drop in IQ. The study out of the UK found people had measurable drops in thinking skills up to 9 months after their infection. Neurologist Dr. Jennifer Graves is also researching long haulers at UC San Diego.
We do know that there are other viruses that can trigger neurologic complications, but this is quite striking.
She says the UK findings are in line with other studies that have found cognitive changes in up to 30% of COVID patients after a hospital stay and up to 80% after a trip to the ICU. But even though this latest research involved a so-called intelligence test, Dr. Navaz Karangia says don't be fooled.
Intelligence usually refers to what people think of one's innate ability to think, and it's a permanent thing. It's also a very culturally biased and loaded term. So I would not refer to what this study has found as a change in people's intelligence at all.
She says the findings have to do with long haulers' ability to focus, multitask, and remember, not really their permanent IQ. The authors found people with some kind of mild COVID symptoms had a small but measurable drop in score. Those who were hospitalized or put on a ventilator had a much bigger drop, bigger than people who previously had a stroke. But Dr. Karangia says that's not quite a fair comparison.
A stroke is an entirely different phenomenon. It causes part of the brain to actually die, right? And the way that we recover is by growing new connections very slowly. And because we don't know whether the causes of these changes after COVID is biological or psychological, it is way too early to compare it to stroke. It could be much more reversible. It could completely improve over time.
Doctors at UCSD are still trying to figure out exactly how COVID affects the brain, whether the virus attacks brain cells directly or causes chain reactions that affect oxygen levels or some combination. But it's something they're studying right now.
The good news is we've been tracking these patients for many months now, and the majority of patients, even if they worsen for a few weeks after their COVID infection, do tend to get better after 3 to 6 months period of time.
But a small number of people still have symptoms beyond that. She says once they pinpoint the mechanisms, they can come up with better treatments. But how COVID affects the brain is something they plan to study for the next 10 years. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
Other studies have compared COVID's impact on brain function to early Alzheimer's or dementia. Experts say it's yet another reason to get vaccinated.
Today, Pfizer released new data suggesting a booster shot can greatly increase protection against the Delta variant. For an in-depth look, we spoke to a local doctor about whether it's necessary. Pfizer's research looked at administering a third dose at least 6 months after the second one. The company says antibody levels against Delta in people ages 18 to 55 are greater than 5-fold compared to their second shot. In people 65 to 85, antibody levels are greater than 11-fold. 23 people were part of the study. Dr. Jyotu Sandhu with Sharp Healthcare says the data is encouraging but gives a warning.
It's always good to hear that we have updated information and therapies for an evolving virus. But at the same time, pharmaceutical companies also have their personal interests in mind.
Some critics say that Pfizer is incentivized by pushing this booster. Today, Pfizer released its latest financial information, reporting $7.8 billion in vaccine sales last quarter alone, nearly half of its total sales of $19 billion. The biopharmaceutical giant is up 92% year over year in revenue. The company expects sales for its vaccine this year to reach about $33.5 billion. That's up nearly 30% from its forecast 3 months ago.
And so as a medical professional, we want to take unbiased information. And so we rely on the CDC for guidance. And the CDC also does a rigorous investigation in terms of other therapies that are out there and new therapies before we make any clinical decisions in the office.
The CDC and FDA have said a booster is not necessary yet. Pfizer is planning to seek emergency use authorization for its third dose as soon as next month.
Now to new information on some breaking news we brought you at 6 o'clock out of La Mesa. 2 people were injured after a car crashed into that office building about 2 hours ago. We're told that one person does have life-threatening injuries while the other was being given CPR. Heartland Fire says one of the victims was taken to the hospital. I am just now getting word from our producer. Just now, we have learned that one person has died in this accident. There was no word on the other person. This happened on University Avenue near Helix High School. And turning now to our weather, temperatures are rising once again across San Diego County. We're in a statewide flex alert until 9 o'clock tonight. Our meteorologist Angelica Campos is tracking our weather here. Angelica.
Hi, Steve. Yes, the temperatures are warming up, but we're not talking about extremes here. We're just back to normal. 82 Escondido, 83 in Ramona, 85 in Alpine. I do want to show you where the heat is, and it happens to be Northern California up into Oregon and Washington State. Also very, very warm across much of the southern plains. And we did have a few thunderstorms this afternoon. Most likely we'll see a few pop-up showers as we head into tomorrow with better chances for the end of the week. I'll give you a closer look at what to expect in your 7-day forecast.
A local substitute teacher has been arrested and is facing child pornography charges. Police took 31-year-old Andrew Primes into custody Tuesday. They say he distributed thousands of images of child abuse, and now officers are looking for potential victims. Primes has worked for the Poway Unified School District, the San Diego Union High School District, and also at the Boy Scouts of America Fiesta Island Summer Camp. Investigators want anyone who suspects Primes of victimizing other children to contact the San Diego Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. In separate statements, the San Diego Union High School District and the Boy Scouts of America said it doesn't appear that there are victims in either organization.